Good morning, and we're back, y'all. We are here on Prison Break, and we have a very special guest with us. We have an awesome topic. We will jump into what our topic is about. We will also jump into why we came up with this very important topic. I don't think that I've ever, Shonda, heard anybody talk about this.
No, I don't think so, Shirley. This is one of those taboo kind of topics, where it's kind of
Right.
glossed over. You kind of know it exists, but nobody really talks about it, and you definitely don't like say anything about it if you see it happen in front of you, like in public or anything like that. It's just kind of hushed up and moved to the side.
Yeah, so everybody, this topic this morning is called She Don't Hit Me Though, how men are emotionally abused by women. And I am not going to introduce this person. I am going to give Shonda the honor of introducing this person. Go ahead, Shonda, take it away.
So we have a super important guest on the line tonight. We wanted to really get a male perspective, someone maybe that hadn't necessarily experienced it, but had been from maybe a counsel standpoint, had sat with some men or understood the male mindset to really give us some insight into what it means to really be a man in the first place, and then to what it means to have to be abused by your partner or your spouse that happens to be a woman and you're a man. So I wanted to bring him on because of his benefit of that counsel and his wisdom of years. So I don't want to say too much because I don't want you guys to think I'm biased, but I just have the privilege of my husband being on the show with us tonight. So we have Mr. Kenneth R. Jr. on the line with us tonight. He told me I just have to introduce him as Ken. I can't say none of his all important stuff about him, but I mean, him being my husband and my baby daddy is like paramount. So here he is. Thanks for joining us, babe.
Thank you for allowing me to be on the show, you guys.
All right. So
Yes.
Charlie, how do you want to bring this in tonight? Do you want to talk about Domestic Violence Awareness Month? Because I think that's how we came up with the topic for all the topics, I think, for October, if you want to be honest about them.
hmm Yeah, so we've been talking about the whole domestic violence, and a lot of times it is put in such an arena where, a lot of times, first of all, in the church, we don't talk about certain things; they're taboo.
Hmm.
Just like growing up, we didn't talk about sex; it was a taboo subject. You don't talk about sex. You just let the kids figure it out, right? Which is completely the wrong answer. Or you don't talk about, relationships or all of the types of things that we need to be talking about, especially in the church. And domestic violence is one of those things that it can cause some embarrassment. Right. It
Hmm.
can cause a lot of different things. And so it can cause guilt. It can cause shame. It can cause a lot of different things. And so a lot of times we don't talk about those topics. And we know that men, not only are women raped, right? Not
Hmm.
only are women abused, but so are men. And so I know that there are so many more men in the world who have gone through traumatic experiences that are not talked about. And this is why we have a perpetual cycle of things going on in homes, right? Why homes are breaking apart, why men and women can't get along with one another. But there is a reason, there is a root for all of those things. And we want to break that box wide open so that marriages can survive, so that relationships as a whole can thrive together, so that we can truly be the examples for our children, because they're going to do what they've seen us do. So,
Absolutely. Not only are they going to do what they see us do, but they're going to ignore everything that we tell them. if we,
yeah.
especially if our actions and our words don't match. So if we tell our kids, "Hey, don't smoke," while we're puffing on a cigarette, you can guarantee that your children is probably going to do what they see you do versus what they hear you say. So I really last week when we came on with Shan, and thanks again, Shan, if you're watching us, or hearing us, thanks so much for being on with us last week. But we kind of just like dived like headfirst into the topic of talking about abuse and things like that. So I really want to back up just a smidge and just kind of give a background, just a smidge of background about what we mean when we say the word abuse, because lots of people have lots of different definitions of what they think it means or what it means in a family situation or a domestic violence situation. So I really want to, from the Domestic Violence Awareness website, there's a booklet. So I really just want to kind of go over what the definition says for what family violence is. So we can get kind of like a basis for saying, okay, this is what we mean when we're talking about abuse. So when we're talking about family violence is like the abusive power within the relationships of family. trust or dependency that will endanger the survival, security, or well-being of either your spouse or your children or other family members that are a part of your living system. So it doesn't just include spousal abuse, child abuse, or elder abuse, as in physical abuse. It also includes sexual abuse, it's financial abuse, it could be emotional abuse, any type of thing that hinders a person from living out their basic needs on a daily basis is considered abuse, even down to neglect. And so a lot of times people will say, well, I don't hit my kid, I don't yell at my kid, I don't do any of those things to my kid. My kid is okay. Yeah, but you ignore your kid all day. And so you make them cook for themselves and you make them become an adult before they're ready. So those things are also considered abuse because they damage the well-being of the person it is that you're interacting with. So when we talk about emotional abuse, as far as women and men are concerned in intimate relationships, a lot of the things that we're talking about don't necessarily come to physicality. They're things like withholding sex, or withholding sex because you don't follow rules, or restricting a way that a person is allowed to have sex with you, or berating them in public. We call that term for women doing that to men more of emasculation. That's what we kind of call it when we see it in a public arena. So when intimidating their partners or holding their children against them, using their children as leverage for disciplinary actions or to get the men to act the way that they want them to, or either not considering the man when they're making decisions with their finances, but letting them find out on their own, not talking with them, or what is it called when you work together? Collaborating with them on your finances. It's 8:05, y'all. Excuse me. So these are the type of things that we're talking about when we're talking about emotional abuse, because they're not physical things. And a lot of times men are not necessarily intimidated by their women physically. It's more of, what is she going to do if I don't do what she wants me to do? How is she going to treat me? Is she going to throw things at me if I don't do what she wants me to do? Is she going to do something to my kids? Is she going to threaten one of my family members? Is she going to withhold something from me? And if you guys are in the process of breaking up, that becomes even more of a damage to keep your children from their father, or to use them as a way to get extra child support out of them, or however it is that you maintain a sense of power or control over that person. But when you're talking about the relationships between men and women, and the ways that women treat men as far as violence or domestic issues, it's more of an intimidation and control factor than it is a physical or a violent factor. And so a lot of times, I don't want to speak for men, but I know from what I've heard that they feel caught between a rock and a hard place. So this is kind of the avenue that I really wanted to start, going down and discussing how it is that men actually feel when they're experiencing these things with women it is that they love, because men are taught from a really, really young age, how it is that they're supposed to most of them are taught, how it is that, you don't hit girls, you don't do this to girls, you don't do that to girls. But somewhere along the line that changes, or maybe they see something different. So I kind of wanted to start talking about how it is that men feel about women, feel about how women treat them, and then how they feel when they experience this type of intimidation or control from women. And I know that it's hard to talk about sometimes because there's this whole stigma about being weak, as a man. So I really wanted to bring someone on the show that can talk about it from a really healthy standpoint. So, babe, I'm just going to give you the floor, and you can just kind of take it where you want to take it. And Shirley and I will just get in where we fit in and ask you questions. And I promise not to catch you off guard.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks again for y'all allowing me to be on the show. It's good to have a neutral standpoint. I myself, I don't, suffer from those things as far as getting abused by my wife or anything. I'm grateful. Thank God for you. But I have counseled many men that have experienced these situations and been through a lot of things. And a lot of it, I believe, starts from the upbringing too, from the man as well. The man, like me, I can speak from my point of view, growing up in a two-parent household with mom and dad there. And I seen the love that my mom brought, and she never, yelled at my dad, was never forceful, and everything that she asked my dad to do, he broke his neck to do because of the way that she came to him. And so when men leave their home, they're looking for that same love that they saw in their mother, or from that person that treated them the best, that woman that treated them the best. And so when they get into these relationships, they're expecting what they've been getting their whole life, that nourishment, that comfort, and everything. Now, if they saw something else, saw the woman treating a man a different way, they will say, why are you treating them like that? Or why are you doing that? Because they haven't had the women in their life treat them like that. And so when we get into these relationships, we're expecting that same thing that we got growing up, that encouragement, that love, not any neglect, and because women have so much influence on a man. And a lot of men try to take away the power from the woman, and a lot of women will try to take away the power from the man as well. Because, but women have this big influence. Like my wife if she comes to me and asks me something, it depends on how she does it. And so I saw my wife come, like the other day. My wife and I were having a conversation. Shonda, we were in the mirror in the bathroom, and I was talking to you, and I was just telling you how I felt about events that were coming up, and you started saying, babe, you know what you can do, you're a king, and why you thinking like that, change your way of thinking, and those things. And I looked at you right in your face. I said, I needed that. I really needed that, and I didn't know I needed that at that moment, but I really needed that encouragement from you, and it made all the difference because it came from you. It wasn't from somebody outside source or anything. It came from the wife. And so coming from the woman in the home, you men, we expect that encouragement. We expect that attention, awareness, being aware of, the things that we need too, so we can operate fully too. Because in the household too, it just depends on which man, if you're married, you got kids, and how they take their marriage seriously. If they're really trying for that woman, doing everything they can, and they come in the house and the wife's like, you didn't pay the water bill, and my bad, I forgot, babe. I'm gonna get to it right now. See, that's why we don't have nothing, because you do this and you do that, and they like, I honestly forgot. I'm working. I'm trying to help raise the kids. I'm doing the same thing you're doing. You run around taking care of everything in the house or outside of your business, your job. I'm just trying to do my part, and I messed up. Let me get on it now. But then it's still the woman behind him. You need to hurry up and see. Look, the water gonna get cut off, or if, say for instance, the power gets shut off. What if the electric get cut off? You call your husband at work. Hey, babe, the electric got off. It's a difference. Hey, babe, the energy is off in here. Did you miss a bill, or is it power off in the neighborhood? And that's the difference. Let me check. My bad, babe. I forgot to pay the bill. I just paid it. It's coming back on. Thanks, babe. And yeah, she might be mad. Yeah, she might be irritated because she still got to take care of the kids. They need electric. They need stuff in the house. But at the same token, it's because of how she handled it, make him say, you know what? I need to be better. I messed up. Let me be better. And the man will correct himself if he really wants to do the thing right, based off of what she says. Now, the second situation could have came, hey, babe, with electric cut off. And then Shonda calls me, Ken, this electric's off. You ain't pay this bill. Why you ain't pay the bill? You had all the money. You had all this. And we sitting there like, it was a simple mistake. Now, it was simple to us because we make the mistake. And yeah, we already feel bad. Our kids are at home, and no lights. The food can be spoiling. Like, you need the electric, especially here in Texas. You need the electric for the hot water. So you need, and so I can understand the anger, but it's about the approach. If you come into the man and saying, with gentleness and kindness, just like you will want to, and I believe in a marriage that we are one. I can't treat Shonda how I treat myself. Talk to myself and be like, you ain't this and you ain't that, and you need to get. I wouldn't do that. So I would expect the same love that I would give to you. I want that back. And when we don't get that back, it makes it harder for us to keep doing it because we still beating ourselves up so bad because we made a mistake. So we can't get back that mistake to be better in the future with the other things because we still dwelling on how bad we got beat up for that. And then the next thing is going to be worse. And then the next thing is going to be worse because we're never good enough. And so those are the things that some of the things that I've heard, even for the point is where they're taking the kids, playing kids against the dad, saying it in front of the kids, why are you doing this? Telling the kids, look at your dad. He ain't even paying the bill on time. He ain't even doing this. And now men just want to be the hero. We just want to be the hero. We want our kids to say, man, look at my father. Like me, like even today, when I look at my dad and my wife, Shonda, you can tell him, like, when I talk about my dad, it's like this great joy that comes upon me because I know what he's done for me. It's a great joy that comes upon me when I talk about my mom because I know what she's done. Like, I have no issues with my parents. And so that's the same thing, the same respect that the men will want in a home. And when they don't get that, they feel neglected. They feel, ashamed. They feel embarrassed, especially in public, just say, for instance, you're in a restaurant and, and you come up short a little bit. It's all about how, because the man's already thinking that we're already rough. We already have it hard, in some places, just like the women have it in their own arena. Men have it hard in our own arena as well. And so we're sitting there like, okay, I know I got money on this bill, and we're trying to provide for our wife and give her the food that she wants or whatever. And the food comes to the table and we get ready to pay for it, and we're short about $5. And she's looking like, you don't got the money? You brought me out here? And just going in on them. And the table next to them is looking like, here, they feel so bad they're giving the money. And then the woman, oh, look, they got to give you money, and just make it's just like a downward spiral. And so it kind of makes it hard for the man to say, but babe, I made a mistake. I'm trying. I really want to do this the right way. And I just need some encouragement right here. You have a solution instead of becoming more of the problem. Help me. And
so her, help these ladies.
They need it. Shirley, tell them.
Help these ladies that's out on a date, or their husband, whatever it is, and that happens to them. What should they be saying or doing? Sometimes it's not what you say. How can they handle that situation appropriately?
Okay, it's how. It's about how they do it. And so when they come, if the situation's like that, I'm short on the bill or something, I say, man, they said the card is declined. I said, well, let me see if I can get my stuff together. And while I'm getting my stuff together, the lady should be saying, let me see what I can do to help you as well. Instead of we can talk about the problem in the car. Don't talk about it right here. This is not the arena to do it. Everybody's looking. I'm already embarrassed. Did you see my card get declined? Mm-hmm. So that's that. When you ever been in the store, I've been in the shoes before too. I swipe the card is declined, and I'm instantly you feel this heat come upon you, and you're sitting there, and it feel like everybody's eyes are on you because you're the one with the declined card. And then if your wife coming, hey, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, it makes it worse. So she comes and say, look, let me see where I can help you at, or let me see where I got some money here, or text her friend, hey, you got $5, cash at me this. Do something to help the situation. Encourage them. Hey, look, hey, don't worry about it. Come on, let's see what's going on with the bank. Let's see what's going on with this. Make something up to get to help them out, to help them from their hot feeling that they feel. Bring some heaven into that. Get them out of that, because they need some encouragement too in that situation. That would make all the difference. Because when they get to the car, hey, what happened, man? Look, I don't even know. I thought I had the money in there, and it's a whole real conversation in the car then, because if you yell at me and we get in the car, I'm looking at, I ain't even talking. Ain't nothing to talk about. You just
communication.
Double embarrass me in the store. I'm embarrassed driving away. People still looking at me. I'm ducking. Like, you don't want to live like that. So the thing is, try to be that man's peace in that situation, because they need it and help.
It's interesting that you say it like that, Ken, because we've been married for 16 years. And the whole time that we've been married, I've kind of been counseling almost like the whole time, even when it was like informal. And I think that today was like the first time that I heard men in a different light. So I always look at men according to what it is that God says as far as husband and wives go. So in the Bible, when it talks about the relationship, it talks about how the man is supposed to love his wife like he loves his own body, and how the woman is supposed to respect her husband as unto the Lord. And so when you get ready to read about this, it kind of already sets you up like this. Okay. Like now you're supposed to join with each other. But I think that what happens is that there is a lack of, I don't want to say a lack of empathy, maybe a lack of compassion that each person has for the opposite sex. We all think that our own work is the hardest. Like women think that they have the harder job because they have to raise the kids and their life is not their own. They got to change their name. They got to be submissive. They got to do this. They got to do that, and then not really considering the fact that men have broad shoulders before a reason because you guys carry like a lot. There's headship on you guys. So there's a lot that is expected from you, not just that you're responsible for, but there's an expectation that's placed upon you. So when women get into a relationship, they're like, oh, the man is supposed to do this. He's supposed to do that. He's supposed to do this. He's supposed to do that. Almost as if like he's not even allowed to make a mistake in those arenas because this is what he's supposed to do. And if at any time he doesn't do it, a lot of times women will, and even the ones that are not abusive will kind of castigate a man for not doing what he's a man. He need to man up. He's supposed to be mature. He's supposed to be this. He's supposed to be that. Not really considering the humanity of that man. Right. And so I think sometimes that I don't know if it's we're just unaware, I think, a lot of times of that male perspective. And maybe I don't want to point the finger at men or blame you guys, but I think a lot of times maybe it has to do with communication. Like we're not communicating to each other what it is that we have going on. So what I heard you say today was that men come into relationships with expectations about women too. And it's not just, I want you to be submissive and I want you to cook and I want you to have sex. It's, I also too am looking for someone that is going to treat me the way that I've already been treated. So when I don't get that as a man, I'm already behind the power curve. There's already a unsettling that's happening because I'm expecting the things that I'm not getting. So then when you're bombarded with what you're bombarded with from a woman who might be more intimidating or controlling, then what I hear from that is it's hard then to kind of come back from what it is that's been said. So those are the things that I don't think that we know. I know I didn't know that. I've never heard it explained in that way. What about you, Shirley?
Yeah, this is kind of the same type thing. And so sometimes we don't recognize or realize that that's what we're doing. But again, a lot of it has to do with our upbringing. It has to do with, everybody didn't have a 2-parent home. Everybody didn't have loving parents, even if they were both in the home, and so there's a lot of times where we're just mirroring what we have seen, and we just don't take it. Our cognition doesn't recognize that these behaviors are happening. And so what about the man who grew up in a home and his mother was abusive to him, either in word or physically? So you have a man that then grows up. I can imagine who his woman is talking down to him, but that's how he was treated growing up. So he don't think anything is wrong with it. But beloved, there is something wrong with that.
Absolutely.
And so we have to correct those behaviors that we have allowed ourselves as women to perpetuate throughout the years, because men, y'all are worthy. Y'all are worthy of love. You're worthy of honor. You're worthy of respect. And so if we can just, hone in on those things and get it right from a foundational perspective, because it goes back to the foundation, right? Sometimes we tear up some things and rebuild them. So Ken, I heard you say, how the way she came, how a woman could come to you with, you come in the house and you've already had a long day, right? You're trying to provide outside of the home while she's doing stuff in the home. And her, if you forget to do something, how her demeanor, how she says what she says makes a big difference. Can you kind of go into how that makes you how that would make you as a man feel? Because a lot of times I think we as women, we forget that y'all have feelings. We forget. We forget that you're human. We see you as Superman, and we want you to behave as such.
And you know what? And I don't take from that. I'm not saying that the women shouldn't look at their man as Superman. You should. We should be Superman. We chose the woman that's in our lives. We decided that we were going to marry this woman and take care of her and be there and be responsible. And so one thing Shonda said is about the communication too. So Shirley, if I come in the house and I, had a rough day, the first thing I'm looking for is my wife, because she is the love. She is the compassion. She is the influence. She is my encouragement. And so when I come in the house, the kids come, "Hey, Daddy, yeah, it's great to see them." But I'm looking for my wife, because I know that's what I'm going to get when I see her. But if I come in the house and as soon as I come in the house and she were to say, "Oh, Ken, you didn't pay this, you didn't take care of this, you didn't do this, and why you ain't this, you ain't nothing, you ain't taking care of none of your family, you ain't doing," I instantly coming from a rough day or not would feel, it kind of make you ball up. I would feel angry, embarrassed because of the kids are watching you talk like that. Um, and even myself, I will put myself down a little bit because I should have took care of them things because that's my responsibility. And so it's like you beat me up, but I'm already beating myself up too. So now I got two people beating me up, and you don't even know that I beat myself up already. Because when a man driving up to the home, sometimes I think about, did I accomplish this? And I might think, man, I forgot to pay that bill. And as soon as I walk in the house, if she's saying, you need to pay this bill, you forgot that. And it's like, man, my bad, I'm about to do it now. And then once you say I'm about to do it now, and then it continues to go, well, you should be better and you need to do better and you should be doing this. And it just draws me back. And one thing that the male needs, and that's the same thing what we need with God, is that open communication. Because if I can't come be open with my wife, who I'm doing life with, like we're experiencing life, we're building together, we're growing together. When I first met Shauna, she looked like a little kid, like a little girl, and I look like a little boy. And now we're growing together, but she still looks the same. But we're just older, and that comes with maturity in a relationship. And so, I just say it make me feel bad. It'll make me feel bad. And from the men's perspective, the men I counseled over the years, and they come tell me some of the stuff that their wife has done or said to them, it was shocking to me first because I didn't have that, and it was shocking to me first because I didn't experience that. And another thing too, go look for that. Go look for what you want in a woman. Like you want that love. Like when I met Shauna, she saw my mom. She says, man, your mom does all these things. She does everything in the house. My mom doesn't work, never worked outside the house, doesn't even know how to drive. But she cooked, clean, read the word, and all day gospel music playing. And I had peace in the home from little. So when I got ready to look for the wife, that is what I was looking for. Now, I happen to get an ambitious woman, and I'm blessed. And when I met her, we met in the military. So she was already working and thriving and doing her thing. So I had to figure out in my mind, okay, these are the things that I've seen how a marriage should work based off of my experience, not based off of what the world says, based off of, I see my mom do all these things. That's what a woman's supposed to do. Just like when a woman see a man that's closer in her life, how he conducts himself, she's going to say, that's how my husband should be doing. If she likes the way that he's doing it, you're going to want those qualities in a man. And that's what we're expecting. And so when I don't get those things that I seem, the good people in my life, the good women in my life give to that man, and stuff that I feel that was fitting or encouraging. Like I see my dad down, my mom will come and put a hand on his shoulder and say, hey, something in his ear. And then he'll be like, and shake his head. And then they, and a day is better. And I'm like, man, that's what, I don't know what she said, but that's what I want. And so that's what I get. It's always up to that. It's about that upbringing, what you see, and communication is like key. Just think about how you will feel if you can communicate with God.
Mm-hmm. That's a good analogy.
That's good.
So, and if we're supposed to be one, and the word tells me to love my wife, and you know what? It don't even say love her if you feel like this. It
Come
says
on, sir.
And then it says she's supposed to respect me.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And that's what men are expecting, just to respect. And so I love her just like I love, myself, more than I would love myself. Whatever I'm doing to myself, I got to do double to her. So just that they be able to push out all that love and get some bad back, or not the respect back from the love, that hurts. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's coming from my perspective and stuff that I've seen.
You said something important too, Ken, that I think that people also don't realize. You said, if she would talk to me like that when she first came in the house, I would be embarrassed in front of my kids. And we as women understand being embarrassed in front of our kids, but I don't think that this is demonstrating to me. I'm thinking back over the years, all the women that I've talked to in session, all the men that I've talked to in session, has any of these comment statements, thoughts, or concepts come up. And I don't think that people talk about them in this way. We don't conceptualize men in this way. So to say that you would be embarrassed in front of your kids, can you talk a little bit about what it means for a man to be embarrassed in front of his kids, and what kind of things embarrass you in front of your kids?
Okay, so the way my sons look at me, when they look at me just like I look at God. I'm their provider. I protect them. I cover them. I comfort them. And so when they're looking at their covering, the person they respect the most in the world get belittled. Uh, for me, if you're talking to me like that and you're supposed to have the respect for me, you automatically strip my respect away from the kids. So the kid's not going to respect me because mama talk to you like that. I could do it too. And they're looking at it. If that woman is that close to you and she can talk to you like that, I can say whatever I want to say. And it's just that I'm my kid's hero. And I make it a point to be their hero. That means I put in the work so I can be there and be available so that when they in school, who's your favorite person? My father. That's what I want to hear because I'm putting in the work. And so when I come in a house and I'm supposed to be the head, I'm the head and I'm taking care of the kids and everything. And then the wife come in and yell at the head or doing all this stuff in front of the kids. Just think about the example they're seeing. We're creating a legacy. This is supposed to pass. When I go, they're still going to be going. They're going to pour that into their kids too. They're going to treat their wife or their husband just like their parents are treating theirs. And so that's why I make it a point to even, be the love in front of them, hug in front of them, show up my affection toward my wife in front of the kids so they can see this is what it's supposed to look like, And so even if she was mad, pull me in the room. Don't do it in front of my kids because this is the first they're seeing it. This is they're growing. This is what's going into their minds, coming into their eye gate, their ear gates. They're seeing this stuff and it's manifesting into their minds, and they're going to think this is how it's supposed to be, and it's not so. And so we got to watch what we say, how we do it, what we do, what we read, everything that we do. We are the examples. And so if you're coming yelling at the person as they come through the front door, look at the example you're setting for your kids. They're going to yell at their wives. They're going to yell at their husbands the same way because they think that that's the norm. That's not the norm. It's not supposed to be like that. Communication. It's a lot of love in communication. It can get us along.
There's a lot of love in communication. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, we don't have to hashtag that one.
I definitely have to hashtag that one. So I know this is kind of off the topic just a little bit, but can you kind of expound on that one a little bit? There's a lot of love in communication. That's kind of profound.
So you have to know me. You got to know me. And a lot of men, we don't want to say, you know what, babe, this hurts me. Because, this is going to make me look soft. No, you still a man. You still providing. You still the same dude. You still got the same muscle build. It didn't take from you. You just really let her in. So now the woman can be more open. They're looking for that. They want to be open, but this might sound crazy, but most the women that I've talked to, they're like, well, I ain't talking to him because he ain't open with me. True. Well, man, you might say the same thing. Well, I ain't going to be communicating with because she ain't open with me. Well, you the head, make a step. And she busts you up, then make another step and keep getting busted up until their communication open. Say, look, I'm trying to communicate with you so that you can get to know me, so that we'll be doing stuff for each other without even saying so. My wife, when she gets ready in the morning, she's getting herself together. I know she wants some coffee or something. I'm going to go get it and bring it.
I have witnessed that.
That's communication. That's communication.
Yeah.
That's communication without saying so. So if I can communicate with my mouth first and you get to know me intimately, then you get to know my heart and you will hear my heart when it speaks and you'll go do the stuff that I need you to do without me.
Without saying it.
So you have to communicate, talk, let it out, whatever it is. Look, my stomach hurt, my head hurt. I didn't like when you said this. Why are you talking like that, babe? Now, that comes with your point in your relationship as well. Me and Shauna, 16 years. Y'all got 2 years. Don't be coming to your wife saying, you need to stop talking like that. Don't do that. You need to grow. And if you want to communicate like that, don't communicate like then when you get mad. You can say it like this. Hey, why did you say that like that? That's a better way of saying it. Me nowadays, Shauna, why you talking like that? You sound crazy. And she'll be like, I sound crazy? Yeah, you sound crazy. And I got a conversation to go. But, about 10 years ago, hey, Shauna, stop talking crazy. What you mean I'm talking? She might have went in on me. But that's because
I can see that.
Now we can communicate. Now
look, I'm not bringing y'all on the show for both of y'all to throw me under the bus. Okay, now look, y'all pick a date.
Remember, we won, babe. If I throw you under, I'm with you.
That's true.
Okay. I ain't throwing you under.
Sit down, Shirley, over there trying to do.
You shouldn't have put on my shirt this morning. We'd have been cool.
Well, since we throwing people under the bus, I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. So one of the things that I remember is I would not have considered myself abusive before we began this topic. But when I look back over our relationship, there are some ways that I interacted with you in the beginning that if I saw another lady do it now, I'd be like, now hold up, chick. Now, why are you doing him like that? Different ways that when we were really, really young, that I was not able to manage my emotions, some anger management issues. So I don't I think I threw a lot of things, a lot of things. Like I think I threw a DVD rack at him one time. I think I got mad. Um, different little
she cut you
stuff.
from afar.
Just different little stuff because I was very young. Because I was young and all the. Let me explain something to you. I had a 2-parent household until I was a teenager. My mom and dad were not abusive to each other. Now, when they were breaking up, it kind of got a little heated or whatever, but they were never like abusive. Once or twice, my dad kind of got a little heavy-handed in the discipline department as far as me and my sister were concerned, but abuse, no. So I didn't grow up that way, but I saw a lot of drama stuff on TV. Like dramatic stuff, like women would get fed up, with what was going on with their men, and they would start, throwing things in the kitchen and breaking plates and stuff like that. And it wasn't anything that I thought was necessarily okay or not okay, but that just seemed like the way to do it. You know what I mean? And even that my parents did not do that. But when I watched the women on the shows, I was so involved in the shows, I found myself ending up acting like those women versus acting like what I had grown up with. And so I didn't realize it until I was watching Telemundo one day with one of my cousins. And I was watching Telemundo with one of my cousins, and I was like, geez, this show is dramatic. And I'm watching the women, and the woman she's throwing stuff and she's yelling at the man in Spanish, and she's doing this and she's doing that. And then one of the ladies said something, and I read the caption at the bottom, and the caption kind of sounded like something that I would have said. And I just kind of saw myself, and I was like, oh man, that's not right. Probably shouldn't be doing that. But I didn't have the awareness that I needed. But sometimes we as women interact with our men in ways that is emasculating or hurtful towards them. And we're unaware that we're doing this because this has just become a pattern. Like even with, we talk about body language as being communication too. I talk about that with my kids all the time, especially like my older son. Like I tell him all the time, you don't have to tell me what you're thinking. I can tell it with the way that you're moving your body. So you can tell me you don't have an attitude, but the way you got your neck cocked to the side and the way you got, you're standing and this, that, and the other indicate that you are displeased with either something that was said or done. So when we get angry with our men or we get frustrated with our men or we begin to engage with them in conflict, a lot of times we as women have disrespectful body behaviors towards the men that we're interacting with, and it comes off really
behaviors.
Yeah. Well, you your neck be going this way and that way, and you got all this stuff to say, and your hands all in his face, and you're pointing at him and doing this, things that we as women do when we get charged up, emotionally. And so we don't take these as disrespect. That's just the way that I am. If you don't take me there, then I won't act like that. But if a man was to say that don't do that to me and I won't do this to you, you would be looking at him and saying, well, why is it my job to control your body? Why you're not controlling your own body? That's what we as women want to say. But when it's our turn and we're not managing our emotions and we're acting up and, someone says something to us or a man says something to us, we want to say, well, don't take me there and I won't act like that. And I think that we as women perpetrate this double standard, even though we don't realize that we're doing it. We perpetrate this double standard that we're so angry about that says that men and women should be treated differently. We encourage it by saying, oh, well, he's a man. He should this. Oh, well, he shouldn't treat me like this because I'm a woman. Or I could do it. I'm a woman. I could do it. That's for me. I'm known for doing that. But men, y'all are supposed to be this. You set up and encourage a double standard to continue. So I really want our ladies to begin to take back their power, their feminine power and energy. And the best way to take back your feminine power and energy is to become more feminine, right? To stop doing those things that you say that people are driving you to do. Manage your own emotions. Someone can't make you angry. You let them. Like, you
Right.
let them take you there. You are in control of whether or not you get angry about a thing. You know your triggers. You know the things that frustrate you. There's been plenty of times where Shirley has said something to me that just took me all the way left. And I had to come back and say, okay, breathe. And I might not talk to Shirley that day. I may wait until I calm down and then be like, boo, I ain't like when you said that the other day. That thing bothered me. I had to get myself together so I could talk to you about it. And then I explained to her what it was that I didn't like. And that preserves our friendship. It preserves our relationship. But it's me communicating. But that's not something that's limited to your girlfriends. That is something that your husbands need as well. And we as women, a lot of times, don't communicate with our men well. We communicate around the issue versus communicating the actual issue. And I believe, if I'm correct, babe, that men are a little bit more direct than women are sometimes, and understanding can get lost in an explanation. So the ways then that we communicate, there's a gap between the way that men communicate and the way that women communicate that kind of keep them in this emotionally charged situation, this element of control. And another thing that we as women do, and I know that I've been guilty of this in the past, I probably am still, sometimes using my conversation to kind of overtalk a man in a situation to kind of get my way. Now, I don't know if I still do this. It's not intentional if I still do it. However, I have seen myself do it in the past. And when I got done, I'd be like, now, why did I do that to him? Why did I try to get my way like that? What was so important about me having it my way that I felt like I needed to do that? But if you're not aware, then you'll just do it. So when you're in a relationship with a man and you are over talking him or otherwise intimidating him in order to get what you want, or playing on his emotions to get what you want, that's a form of emotional abuse too. If you pull out some fake tears every time you can't spend $150 on a Coach bag, you are definitely wrong. That is definitely emotional abuse, because there's a chemical reaction that takes place in a man when a woman cries. He cannot control that. So you are playing on that reaction in an effort to get what you want. That's abuse too. That's abuse too. So I really want to make sure that we're talking about things that people don't consider abuse and really bringing them to the forefront as abuse, because I think that we're really behind the power curve on that. So, babe, can you talk a little bit? I keep calling you babe. Should I call you Mr. Curb?
You can call me.
Nope. This is called example setting. You call him whatever you want to call him.
Right.
That's your man. Stop playing.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Babe, talk to us a little bit about some of those things that women do, or the way that they're unaware of, that men find either like a turnoff, or they found really gross or ugly, that we don't realize that women do, that really hurts men. It kind of turns you guys away from wanting to be close to us.
Well, one thing is just it is the body language too. If you're around somebody and they sit around and you can tell when somebody doesn't want you around or have an issue with you, but they're not saying nothing. It's just, you all right? Yeah, I'm good. Like, no, you're not. Like, why are you doing that? Why don't you just say what you got to say? Or like I said, communication. It gotta be open communication. So when you don't communicate, when you don't talk, but you want me to talk, and we're always talking, and the man's trying to get their point across, and we might not say it the way that you feel like it should be said, but we're still trying to communicate, and you just shut us down, that is a turn off, because we're really trying to communicate, but we don't speak on the same levels. So let me give you an example. My wife and I, my friend Rob across the street, he called me, he said, well, he moved and he left and then he came back. And when he came back, I was outside. I said, hey, Rob just moved back in across the street. And she was like, why? And I was like, man, I don't know. Rob just moved back. I just seen him move back. I don't care. But she want to know the details. Why did he move back? And if he left, I mean, he was gone. Why you come back? He was gone. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, the details is he left and he's back. I don't care why he's back. I just came in and said, Rob back. Why are you doing all that extra? And so when we're communicating, it's about the levels that you talk. So by my wife being a pastoral counselor and having 2 master's degrees, her frequency of speech and language is up here. Shirley can talk up here because they both went through the same thing, same level. They can come up here. Well, me, I don't have that college degree. So when she's talking, I'm right here. So if I'm trying to get my point across and she's not trying to understand, at least I'm not saying that I'm just saying you need to come down here a little bit to your mate's level of understanding, so you can really try to understand what they are saying, how they feel, so that you can help them with their feelings, because that is what's going to keep you together. If you can communicate, hey, I feel like this, well, I feel like this, well, you can come together at a good point. Another thing I do not like, and we men cannot do anything about this, is when a woman cries. Oh my gosh. It can be manipulative in some ways, because I can be so mad, man, I just can't think. And I look at my daughter and I'm like, why you crying? All the mad and anger go away to it be like, man, this. And why you crying? Why you? and it bring it all the way down, and it does bring your testosterone level down. And so if we're out, or I heard situations where men, their wife, they had a trip planned or whatever, and something really, really big came up, like when a man physically couldn't go, he was hurt, right? His body, he couldn't go at all. And she's, man, why did you do this to me? We had this trip planned. And then she starts bawling. So you know what the man's going to try to do? He's going to try to piece himself together, stitch his leg up, or whatever he can do to make her smile. Because we have to live with you. We still got to do life with you. And so we're going to do whatever we can do to keep you happy. Because, you know, if I come in the house, think about this. And that's what we said earlier. You're the joy of the house. You're the love in the house. You're peace in the house. So if I'm coming home and not giving you those things, then I'm going to be upset. Like, my day doesn't get better. So I need that. I need the things, that communication. So I come in the house and you're sitting there breaking down, crying because you can't get your way all the time. You're going to pull me away from my task that I'm supposed to be doing. If I'm supposed to be working, taking care of kids, grinding, doing anything I'm supposed to be doing, now you're craving attention with your tears in a manipulative way.
Wow.
So now I'm doing the stuff that I need to do for the house, for myself, for the family, for you, to cater to your need or your want that you wanted, just because you dropped a few tears and you did it on purpose. And so it kind of makes it hard for us to function, and we knowing that you're doing that. Like, we know that you're trying to get your way. And then we like, okay, well, then we start doing stuff just so we don't hear the mouth.
But it's not authentic.
And it's just check the block stuff. And then so that way the love goes away, the communication goes away, and then you see a free floating man just doing the stuff that he needs to do, his mouth closed, and then that's when man cave come in. And they go and be by themselves. And they don't want, why you don't want to be around me? Because every time I'm around you, it's some kind of drama. So I'm sitting here and watch my TV and my sports and all these stuff, so I can have some other stimulation to keep my mind away from what you're.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Y'all, we are at the halfway mark. If you have not caught the beginning of this broadcast of Prison Break with Shirley and Shonda with special guest Mr. Kenneth Kerr, we are talking about, but she don't hit me though, how men are emotionally abused by women. You need to go back to the beginning, catch it on YouTube, go on our Facebook page of Prison Break with Shirley and Shonda. It will be on the KRGN FM page on Facebook. But man, this is good. Women, you need to tune in. Men, you need to tune in. And let's continue this conversation. So we're going to jump back into it. So Mr. Kerr, you said something like that, just like really, really, really hit the spot of the trigger of the things that we often go through with this whole manipulation. My tongue getting twisted. Manipulation and the words we use and how we push y'all away is what I'm hearing. So there is never an excuse for an affair, but oftentimes this is how it begins.
Yeah.
Right. So he's looking for what you didn't give him at home. He's looking for that love, respect, and that honor that was not given at home. I'm not going to say that this is always the case, because it's not. And we all have to take accountability for our own actions, right? However, there are things that we do as women to push our men away. And so, yeah, you broke that wide open. So we got another 40 minutes. Go on, talk about that.
I know. Let me jump in before you do that, babe. I just want to make this example because I don't want any women to hear this broadcast and be like, oh my gosh, how are you going to tell me that he's not wanting to be with me? He wanting to be with somebody else because I just talked to him crazy. He should be keeping his body.
No,
Yes, I understand.
I'm gonna get on that one too.
Yeah, we're gonna get on that. I just want to give a really quick example and I'm gonna let you have it. And we as women understand it when it comes to our kids, when it comes to our children, when it comes to us, but when it comes to our husbands or our significant others, we don't quite understand it as much. But if the school calls you and they tell you little Johnny got into a fight today and he punched little Kevin in the nose, and you need to come, and Johnny's your son, you need to come pick little Johnny up because he's getting suspended. And you like, oh, okay, well, you going to talk to little Johnny. You want to know, well, Johnny, well, why did you hit Kevin in the nose? You don't fight. What's going on? And little Johnny says, well, Kevin had been messing with me all class period. He called me out my name. He took my paper. He did this to me. He did that to me. And then finally he hit me and I just got tired of it. So I hit him back. You as a parent would want to talk to the principal. Okay, now who's talking to Kevin's parents? I want to know why Kevin is allowed to do these things to him. And Johnny it now is getting suspended because he hit him in the face, but nobody said anything to Kevin from the time that he started until the time Johnny hit him. And now Johnny's getting in trouble and not Kevin. Now that's an issue for me as a parent, as a mother. You would go to school and you would have that fight. But when it comes to your husband and you've been manipulating him and hurting him and damaging him and not respecting him for years on end, and now all of a sudden he wants to be in his room and you're like, hey, why you don't want to be bothered with me? And you don't understand why. And then he ends up falling into an affair because it's not good for men to be alone, right? So when man is being alone, it starts off being about sports, but it could end up being anywhere else. It could end up on porn. It could end up on a dating website. It could be an accidental type of thing. Whatever. It could be anything, but you understand it with your kids, how another person's actions can push you and pressure you until you break out of your character, but you won't understand it when it comes to your spouse. Like I told you before, it's almost like we disregard humanity when it's applied to man, which is crazy, but we do that. So I definitely want to talk about that this last half before we talk about what we talked about this morning, Ken, about women using their children as leverage against their men. I want to get to that afterwards, but if you could talk a little bit about this lead up behavior, because it's not causal, like ignore husband, cheat on wife. It's not like that. It's not causal, but it is like a catalytic behavior. It does set off a range of events that sometimes lead that way.
This goes back to the communication part for the most part. You know, if I'm coming into you and I'm saying, babe, I need this. I need this. This is something that I need to coexist with you in this marriage. This is something that I need, you know, and I'm telling you over and over again the stuff that I need, and you're not doing the needs, or if you're steady beating on me with your words, yelling at me, fussing at me. Now, and this is another example too. And then it made me think about Proverbs when I thought about it too. But my friends, you know, I got a great friend. And, you know, he was going through one of his wives and stuff like that. And going through it with his wife. And he was saying, hey, you know, they were arguing. And then he had somebody come and say, hey, you know, if I was with you, you know, you wouldn't have to go through all that. And then so the man is going through all these things, you know, where he can't come talk to his wife about, because every time he talks to his wife, there's an argument. So it might start off innocent. Now, let me get one thing straight. There is no excuse for you stepping out in your marriage. There's none. You can tame yourself. God gave you dominion over the world as a man. You can tame everything. Just like you can train a dog, you're supposed to discipline yourself. And it's called just consistency. Training. Just like you get trained for a job, you get trained up as you grow in the kids, you still get training as an adult, you train yourself. All right. So there's no excuse. I'm not making no excuses for a man to step out. However, this is the situation, what usually happens on some instance. Some men just want to do what they want to do. But in this instance, he was kind of pushed away because he wasn't getting welcomed in. And so there was no comfort. Hey, babe, you know, I'm here. This is what I need. This is, you know, I mean, I'm here for you and everything. It was another woman being everything for him that he was trying to get at home. She was the peace. She was cooking. She was taking care of him. She rubbed his feet. She was just spoiling him.
Mm.
Doing everything that he was not getting. And she was doing it intentionally. The other lady. To get her, because she know he wouldn't get it. So why not?
Right.
She gonna pray on that, especially if she want him. So she gonna pray on that. And then the man, by the woman having so much influence, because it wasn't good for men to be alone. So he had to send the influence, to encourage, that hope, so they can build together. And when that other person is willing to build together, and the wife is not, the man's gonna run to who's wanting to build together, because he needs that person to become one. And sometimes he becomes one with somebody else instead of becoming one with his wife, because his wife doesn't want to be one with him. So the wife has to love the husband as she loves herself too, so they can become one. You got to treat them the same as you treat yourself. If you wouldn't hate yourself, you wouldn't talk to you. If you see you wouldn't want yourself to be talked to, step out your body. This is what I tell my kids. I say, you know, I get mad at them and I say, go think. Yeah, because that's what it is. It's thinking. You think, you pray, you meditate, but I make them sit. I say, go think, because I want you to sit there and think. Look at your body from an outside point of view. When you're sitting in your body, you can't see every point of your body. You only can see what you can see in front of you in the mirror. You can't even see your back from without no mirror. And so I say, get outside your body and just look at your movie. Look at what you're doing. Just watch the show. And, and what would you say? Oh man, you treating your wife good, or you treating your husband great, or would you say, I wouldn't do that? Man, look at how ugly they act. Look at why you treating them. However you would act, that's how you should. That's what you should go off of. Look at your own movie. Sit back, get out of your body, and look at it. Look what you're doing. And if you doing that thing that you feel that's right, keep on pushing. But if it's ugly and what you looking at, and you looking at just like you watch TV, just like Mark said, you watch that show and be like, maybe I shouldn't do that. That's how we should live. If you don't want to be on display, if you can't do it like you would do it on TV, then don't do it. Don't treat them like that. Don't talk like that. Don't go over there cheating. Don't, if you can't, here, this is me. This is what I'm doing right now at all times, then why are you doing it?
Hey, babe, do me a favor. Tell that story about that young man and his son that you saw that made you start saying, look at your movie. You know, the guy that was walking his son to school.
Oh, man. And so one day I'm walking to school and I, you know, sometimes I get frustrated with my boys because I expect them to do certain things because they're so smart. And so I already know what's in them. And so when you know what's in somebody, you try to burp that out. And when it don't come out right the way you think, you get a little upset. So, hey, why are you doing that? And I yell, but it's not abusive yelling. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was. And one day we walk into school, you know, and I seen this man in our neighborhood. He was like, yo, talking to his son, you need to do this and do this and do that. And the little boy was just balling up. And I said, oh my gosh, that's me yelling at my son. I can't do that. I said, I looked at my son when we walking, man, I'm sorry if I yell like that. That is not correct. That is not how you're supposed to treat your kids. And if I did that, that's not. I'm supposed to talk to y'all in love. Yeah, he's mad, but he's consistently doing that. That's abuse. And I had to really take myself out of my situation and look at me and say, Ken, do you do that? And if you're doing that, you see it's wrong because you just saw it was wrong. So now you can't do that. And so God's going to give you situations in your life through other people. He's always going to send somebody to be that example of what to do and what not to do. And you got to follow the examples. And that was a great one that I saw and said, man, let me look at my movie and see how the star of my show is acting. Because right now I don't like this movie.
That's good.
It's ugly and I don't want to watch it no more. Cut it off. And don't even show nobody else this.
My Lord.
That's how we need to. I think that's how we should walk our lives, especially in the marriage, because people are watching and you don't think. You know, my wife and I watching our friends, a lot of family and everybody just getting divorced, dropped off, and all because of lack of communication. All because of that. That's it. That'd be the main thing. It don't be it just be this person don't want to be real, or I'm embarrassed because I feel like this. Man, if you are getting abused, go talk to your friend and say, look, my wife beating on me and she's verbally abusing me. How should I handle it? Go talk to somebody. Stop, if Shauna was doing it, I'd do the same thing. I'm a different kind of breed, though. I know what I need. And so I tell her.
Did you know what you need?
I tell her I've been telling her since day one, babe, I need this. I never shifted. And everything that she needs, I try my best to do. I try to be my best to be there for her, because we're one. We're doing life together. If I'm spending the rest of my life with you, I mean, if this one little bitty thing is gonna keep you happy, you know, let me just do this little one thing that's gonna be a blessing to you, so it can be a blessing to us. Because when you're doing good for others, you automatically gonna feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So why you blocking your own blessing? Be the joy.
Wow. My Lord. There's several things that that came up. First of all, you said know what you need. So that goes back to knowing yourself before you are in a relationship with somebody else.
Yes.
You need to know who you are, who God made you to be, so that you can properly communicate those things with someone else. And if they really aren't in tune with you, they already gonna know, right? But we can't take that for granted. So knowing what you need is important. And then you won't allow yourself to be emotionally abused by somebody else. So there's 3 scriptures that came about when you kept talking about you wouldn't abuse your own body, so why would you abuse your spouse in that way? Well, it's like the commandment, you know, about loving your neighbor as yourself, right? In Mark chapter 12, verses 30 and 31. And from the King James Version, I'll read it, and then I'll read it in the NLT. And it says, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these." It all comes back to love. But if you can't love God with all of these things, it's real hard for you to love somebody else as yourself, because a lot of times we don't love ourselves in the way that we should either, right? And so it's real hard to dish that out. And then that whole emotional abuse becomes, like you said, the norm. And so it really all goes back to getting to know God and who we were made to be. And then there's another scripture that came about, and it's so funny that the same scripture talking about a brawling woman, it came up twice in 2 different scriptures and named the same exact way. So we know when anything is repetitious, it's real important, right? So I'm going to go to Proverbs chapter 21, verse 9. It's the first scripture. And in the King James, it says, and I'll break it down. "It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop." That sounds like the man room, right? The man cave. "Than with a brawling woman in a wide house." That same scripture is named again in Proverbs 25 and 24. Same exact wording.
Wow.
So in the NLT, it says, that's Proverbs 21 and 9. "It's better to live alone in the corner of an attic than with a quarrelsome wife in a lovely home." That whole outward appearance where everybody else can see, but you're eaten up inside because of the way that we carry on. And so if the Bible says it, not once, but twice, and I'm sure there are some other places in scripture where it says something to that effect, then it's real important for us to be able to behave ourselves in a manner that is, first of all, pleasing to God. And if it's pleasing to God, then it's going to be pleasing to other people around us.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, Shirley. It's interesting because when you talk about, it says it's better to live in the corner of a roof than to be in a lovely home with a quarrelsome wife. The crazy part about that scripture is that it bears it out physically, right? You just mentioned a little bit of it, but if you look at what happens psychologically, neurologically to children when they're in homes where there is quarreling or violence present, even if it's not directed towards them, what scientists have been able to figure out is that the baby's heart beats faster when the home is quarrelsome than it does if the home is peaceful. So even when the violence is directed towards one spouse towards another, and not the children will still have physiological effects of whatever is going on with the parents. Even if it's not hitting or punching, even if it's just discord in the home, it changes the way that the child's systems begin to function. And a child can come away from a home with trauma just from hearing 2 parents arguing with each other, even if there's no exchange of blows. So one of the things that we joke about all the time around here is how people wake up, because my kids always assume that the other kids are angry when they wake up because, they all come out However, they come out when they've been woken up. And so my son said, well, I hate being woken up to loud noises. And my daughter's like, well, I hate being woken up to this. I cannot stand to wake up to hearing people arguing. When my ears, the first thing that my ears are attuned to in the morning is discord between two people, my stomach sinks, my heart rate starts getting fast, I get anxious. I haven't even woken up all the way yet. And these are all the things that I'm feeling in my body before I even take the blankets off of me. So then by the time I step my foot out my day, I've already experienced the maximum amount of negativity before I haven't even opened my mouth to pray yet. I haven't even talked to the Lord yet. And this is what my body has been experiencing. And to experience that over a prolonged period of time, you can come away with a home with PTSD and other trauma symptoms just from arguing.
I wanted to add something to that too. I have a couple that I know that they were raising a child, and the couple argued, fussed, fought, yelled all through this kid's life. Every time I went over there, they was always fighting, abusive, right? And then the child was removed from the home. But when the child was removed from the home, the child grew up in that environment so much that they were only used to hearing violence and fighting and fussing, and it's like they needed that to be normal. That was the norm. So when they get into another house that was peaceful and loving and filled with joy and God, it was like, why y'all joyful? Why y'all quiet? Why ain't nobody arguing? Why is nobody fussing? And that's another thing that husband and wife fussing at each other in front of the kid can do, because that kid will think that that's the norm, and they will take that and put it into every environment. When that kid went to school, they were an issue. It was an issue because they thought that everything was fight. It wasn't, because that's what they got at home. They always got the argument. Now, as the parents shifted and they started bringing a lot of peace and love, the child shifted when they got back, and it's a lot of peace and love. And so you got to think about this. Whatever you're doing to the in front of the kids, it is a huge impact on their life. It's a huge
absolutely
impact on your life, because whatever you pour into that kid, they're gonna pour into their kid, We are creators of our future right now. About what we do, say, act, everything that you do, you're creating your future. So if you're talking like that, and the kid can be 3, you just created. You put a seed in that kid that's going to manifest later in life, and you created. That's your grandkids. That's what your grandkids are going to be. They're going to be just like that. Everything that you're doing is going to duplicate. So you have to be careful with that, of what you're doing. You're duplicating your life with everything you do, good and bad. You're creating your own mess, and you create your own joy.
Come on.
Wow.
That's good.
We're creators.
Wow. That's true, though. We are. And we talk about that a lot of time, and we don't put it in those terms where we say things like, the power of life and death is in the tongue, or, whatever you say you're going to have, or, name it and claim it. We say all of these things, but we don't realize that when we argue, we're naming it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you called your spouse, you naming it, and you're going to have it. That's what you're going to have, because that's what your spouse is going to be. So I think sometimes that we don't recognize that as people. A lot of times we forget. Even I was texting Shirley yesterday, and I was just telling her about how hectic my day was going to be. I had a booked afternoon. Like, it seemed like I had a client like almost every hour yesterday. So when I checked in with Shirley to let her know what I had to do for the day, I told her, I said, I got clients from 12 to 8 and then death. And then she was like, don't say that.
Right.
So,
everything but the death part. Like, it's been
everything but the death part. But you know how it is. You think when you have like a hectic day, you just gonna come home and you just gonna die. That's just gonna be it. Oh my gosh, I'm over. Figure of speech, not really meaning it in that way. But she was reminding me of something that I had been encouraging other people about for a while, and I just hadn't realized that I hadn't taken it for myself. And so when women get into these intimate partner relationships with men, or they get married with men, and then they have not dealt with their own things, it comes out in the way that they interact with their spouses. So if they have triggers in their past and they haven't addressed them or adjusted them, it comes out in their communication and activities. And one of the ways that it can come out once the relationship is beginning to dissolve is when you're talking about the custody of the children. And so a lot of times what will happen is, people are prone to the control and manipulation. They will use anything for control and manipulation. So if right now we're having a battle about the kids, then I'm going to try to use the kids for control and manipulation. And it'll be something as simple as, well, he should have what they need already. So I'm not even sending my kids over there with anything. That's their daddy. He could take care of it. Like, why are you doing that when your kid has 50,000 clothes in their closet? It's too easy to pack a spend a night bag for your kid. Why are you doing this? You're manipulating this man into doing a thing because you're angry, or because you're selfish. That's what it boils down to, selfishness. But what happens to the man when the children are used as a weapon in that way? Because it's almost like you're caught between a rock and a hard place, because if you don't do for the kid, then you're not being dad, you're not being true to what you feel. But if you don't do for the kid, right, because the wife is manipulated, then the child goes without. So what do you do? How does that make you feel, like, as a man? How do you deal with that?
You just do it anyway. You're still supposed to take care of your kid. So like, it's like I would let him know. And once I did have a situation like that, one of my friends like that, his wife was saying, hey, you need to take care of your kids. You need to be doing this so she can keep him close. So she can use him to do the stuff around where she wanted to. She was using the boy to bring her close. So every time and they were married. This is a married couple. And so she's sitting there saying, hey, your son really needs you. He needs you to be here. He needs you to be taken care of and stuff. But he's at work on a regular job. And it was stuff that the wife could have did. Like, he needs you to teach him how to tie his shoe. He only listens to you. He only listens to you. And so saying stuff like, he only listens to you. You're the only one that can do it. You're a man. You need to do it. Like, you know how to tie a shoe. It's not like teaching them how to use the restroom or nothing like that. And so the lady would say, you know what, I can't do this, just to get the man to come home so that she can see him. Because she wants to use him to do the other stuff too. Like, oh, and while you're done with that, I need you to come and take care of this. And so it's certain situations, certain things you can use the kid. Or, hey, you need to hurry up and get home because you put the kids in bed. And so they would keep the kid up all night until the dad. See what you did? Sitting there, your baby didn't go to sleep. He's standing over waiting on you all day. You could have prayed with the boy and put him down and say, daddy's still at work. Explain.
That's why he don't want to come home.
He don't want to come home because every time he get ready to come home, soon he walked through the door. Oh, you need to be over here doing this. And it's like, I just worked all day too. And then I come home and I don't mind doing my part at home. But why you got to talk to, why you got to be like this? Why can't you just help or assist on the parts that where I really, really want to be there, but I can't? You're just going to let me look bad in front of the kids purposely so that you can say, see, look at your dad. I told you he wasn't going to do what he's supposed to do.
Wow.
I told you he can't keep his promises.
Wow.
That sets them up for when they grow up.
That's right.
And they feel like they can't trust men. Because man ain't no good. They're not going to keep their word. All of that. So all of these things that we say to our children, that people say to their children, because, I don't have that example, but the things that we as women say to our children, it's not just a here and now, y'all. I need y'all to get that, to understand that those words, and you cannot take them back. Once they come out of your mouth, they're going to be remembered in somebody's mind. Now, whether you've forgotten what you said, or you remember what you said, your children are going to remember what you said and what you did against their daddy. Because you have to remember, they're part of their bloodline too. And so they're going to feel some kind of way. Then they're not talking to you, mama, because you said something against their daddy. And it's just going to be a whole cycle. So we have to watch the words that are coming out of my mouth. And I've had people say how people say my baby's daddy, this, that, and the other. I'm so grateful I don't have that testimony. Because although I'm not with my son's fathers, I know that if I call them and I need something, they are right there. I know that if they need to go to their dad's house, that they're going to be right there. I don't have that kind of drama in my life. So I'm grateful for that. But when people say my baby's daddy, this, that, and the other, we have to watch the words that are coming out of our mouths. Our children, they see it and they're going to carry that with them into their adulthood. And then you wonder why our next generation now, they don't want nothing to do with marriage. They don't want nothing to do with, having an opposite sex relationship. Then
Yep.
you spiral into other stuff. And that's not what this show is about. But I can promise you, a lot of that stuff comes from the words that we have spoken out of our mouths as their mothers, as their friends, and all of these different things. So it really is time for correction. And it is, again, it's going to take that communication, that open communication with us as adults, as women, as men, to come together and figure out why we've created these things and turn around from those things. And it takes God. It really does. It takes breaking down ourselves, knowing that we cannot do it alone. We didn't create ourselves, so we can't heal ourselves.
That's right.
You said it true. We can start the process, but
we can start the process.
It's not an independent process.
Right.
It's not.
It's working with God, and sometimes it's working with community, and it's working with professionals, and it's working with, Christians in our life. And I mean real believers. I don't mean the one that, proclaim it and then doing other stuff. And so
that's
this is
another
a community. Yeah, this is a community. It is a family, so that we can come together and do it the way God says to do it. And then we can break down these walls, mind, body, and spirit, right? And we can build it back up the way that it's supposed to be. This has been an amazing episode, y'all. We have about, I'm gonna cut it to like about 7 minutes so we don't go over. Yes. Go ahead.
I can't even get to my last question. We don't have enough time. Okay, well, the only other question that I had was I wanted to talk about sometimes how women can emotionally abuse men in a spiritual way and keep them from being the heads of household, or keep them from getting with God like they need to, or keep them from being able to pray the way that they need to. And that's a thing that women don't understand is important. If a man spends too much time at the church, they get angry. Who's at the church? What you need to go down there for? You've been at church 3 days this week already. When he's an elder, like he's the elder on duty this week. He's supposed to be down there 3 days a week this week. And he told you that on last Sunday when he got the roster, that's where he was supposed to be. Why are you hindering this man from doing the work of God? And so that's another way in which women can abuse men that we don't talk about at all. As a matter of fact, we encourage the man then to not even be at the church, going home to your wife. But there's a duty to God that's required first that sometimes we can keep you from. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Okay, so the order of march for me is God, family, and then everything else. And so if I have to do something for God, I try my best to communicate. And Shonda, this is what we have to do for God, period. Are you coming with or not? and that's how it has to be communicated. Now, a lot of times but we already have that that understanding, that relationship. If work needs to be done is God's business, then we're going to go do God's business. And then talk about, I'm gonna be here when you get back. What do you need from me on this end? I can hold it down. If you need me to come with, let's go. And that's how we work. Now, you can get manipulated by that, because if the man is really, really blessing others, like me, I know I've been called to help men. And so if I'm going out there talking to men and Shauna's like, you always hanging around this guy, and I'm like, babe, but he needs help. He's in an abusive relationship. We're good. He's not. He needs the salvation. He needs, the change of mindset. He needs the repentance. Let me go help this gentleman. And then, and you're saying, well, no, you need to be here. You need to be here. And it's stuff that you know that you can do there to make the situation better for me to go there. Then I wouldn't want to go help the brothers. And then I'll be so mad that I can't even pray for the brothers because I can't pray angry. So then so you block me spiritually. You block me emotionally, and then now I can't even be there physically for the gentleman to help him out. Because you need to be selfish and say, you know what, you don't need to be out there. You need to be here with me just because I want you here with me. Even if the man was at the house, what would they be doing? So they should be go and at least do something constructive so they won't get in trouble. Because it's not good for man to be alone. If the man is sitting alone by himself and he's not productive, he's gonna find something to get into that you won't want. And they're not gonna say, hey babe, check this out. I was looking at this today. They're not gonna say that. They're not gonna say that. And then you go to the house and you wonder why stuff ain't done. It's because that's why they were doing stuff that they weren't supposed to, because they were distracted. They were trying to get some stimulation from somewhere else. You can't manipulate a man that's supposed to be doing what God wants to do.
Wow.
You know that you got a man doing God's work. Don't play with him like that. Encourage him, and vice versa. If you know that woman is called to do the work of God, support her. Do your part and support her, regardless of how you feel. Love, no matter what. It don't matter. It don't say love, based off of your feelings. It says love. That's just what it is. And respect. That's what it is. It don't say respect your husband. If you feel like it today, go ahead and respect him on today. No, it doesn't say that. You need to do it. And then when you do that, the other part comes. That's why both of them come together. And then that's when you got one. You do your part, respect. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to love with the communication. And that's how we can commune together.
Wow.
Together. So ain't no separation in marriage.
That's a good point. I don't think we look at it like that. Marriage is a joining, not a separating. So anytime that you bring separation
why we doing stuff together? Why we thinking separate? Why? I got something going on today on my schedule. Why you don't know? If we're one. If we're one being one union taking care of this family, why are we doing stuff separate? Why you don't know what's going on in my mind? Why can't I be open and say, babe, look, I don't feel like doing this today. And you say, why don't you? And we can be okay with me not feeling like cleaning up today.
That's good.
What's the reason why? Let's talk about that. Let's not talk about you lazy. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. We got to step it up, y'all.
Wow.
Man. You gonna say something, Shonda?
Shirley, I was just gonna put it with the closing remarks because I was trying to be aware of the time. So I'm gonna put it with my closing remarks. My gosh, geez, this has been amazing.
It has. So we went onto our different topics, and it ended on the whole spiritual abuse is what we're going to be talking about on next week. But man, we could really do a whole nother week of this. My Lord, this is real good. I was
thinking that this morning. If we come back, would you be able to come back another week if we decided to do another week?
Of course.
Okay. Would you mind being on with Pastor Gilchrist if we can get him?
That'd be awesome.
Okay, so potentially that's what we have for next week. And now I'm gonna give my closing remarks because now I done gave a teaser for next week. So
I mean, we're gonna have to clear that with our special guest that we had already booked for next week, but we gonna come back.
She'll be fine. No, I know her personally. She'll be fine. But I want to give my closing remarks right quick because I want to make a real important point. I want to make a point about what it means for to be a helpmate. So this has been an amazing topic that we've been on for this last hour and some change about She Don't Hit Me Though, how men are emotionally abused by women, and how sometimes that topic can take a spiral to go to so many different directions. We ended up on spiritual today. So that I think that's amazing because one of the first things that it talks about when men and women were brought together by God is about how women were supposed to be a helpmate. And we take that as a capital H and a capital M, and we make it action. And really what I'm hearing is our men are asking for emotional support, which if we think about it as women, it makes sense because we're the more emotional of the two. The woman is supposed to be the weaker vessel, not weak as in strength, but weak as in treatment. She needs to be treated delicately, right? Because we're women, because there's that emotional maturity that women have, that emotional IQ. So if we know that we have that and our men don't, then why wouldn't we provide support for them in that area to help to make that communication between men and women easier? I think we miss that because we always trying to do stuff. We want to make sure that we prove that we're just as strong, that we're just as capable, when really, if you settle into your own strength and power, you'll show your capability so much better. So I hear you ladies on today. I hear what it is that you're saying. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to say it to him like that. I didn't know I was treating him like that. Repent. That's it. That's all that God expects for us to do here. Repent and then change your mind and treat that man as if he is the best thing since sliced bread.
Amen.
And then he will be the best thing since sliced bread, sis. I promise.
Absolutely.
I promise. I'm a living witness. I promise. Okay. So that's all I got, Shirley. I ain't got nothing else because golly, it was good today. I got to go back and watch it now since I sat and talked.
Yes, indeed. It's always good when we go back and we can listen to it as the actual listener and not as the commentators or whatever. So next week, y'all. Well, first, if you're just coming on, we have been on Prison Break with Shirley and Shonda. She Done Hit Me Though, how men are emotionally abused by women. Our guests, really family, Mr. Kenneth Curb himself, the other whole of Mrs. Shonda Curb. See how I put that, the other whole
Yep, that's right.
of Mrs. Curb. And so next week, we are going to be talking about spiritual abuse. Yes, it's real. So we're going to actually have a part 2 of this spiritual abuse. Yes, it's real. And we're going to bring back Mr. Curb. And if we can get Pastor Gilchrist on here, then we're going to do that for next week, and then make that spiritual abuse a 2-week segment. How about that? I love how we're allowed to come in, do what God says, and so the script can change at any moment, and we are subject to go ahead and move with the leading of the Spirit. And I'm so grateful for KRGN for this platform. It's been amazing. Thank you so much to Ron and Mimi Grace for allowing us this time and this space to really bring home topics that people can really use, bring home topics that people are needing to hear about, but sometimes don't hear about in their regular lives. And so that's what Shonda and I were placed here for. And so thank you so much for bringing out the God part of us that was still hidden. I'm just going to speak for myself. Yeah. So y'all be blessed. The next voices that you're going to hear are none other than Marriage Mondays with the Kings. Go ahead and keep that dial locked on KRGN 98.5 FM, The Rock.